Hey everybody. Well, we're here for part 4 of our editorial illustration masterclass. Now, we started out with just chatting a little bit about what editorial illustration was. We showed some examples of some of the best artists out there who are working today, who have worked on editorial art in the past. And then we gave ourselves a mock assignment. This was all in part 1. You can go back and watch these. They're all archived on YouTube. We gave ourselves a mock assignment having to do with eyesight and carrots. This myth or not a myth about whether eating more carrots is going to help you to retain your eyesight, improve your eyesight, whatever it happens to be. And we just thought that'd be a fun idea for a mock assignment. And then I did 3 sketches, and just to review, I'll show you over here where we wound up with that. Here were the 3 sketches we had. We have our little client brief here. Do carrots really promote healthy vision? 6-inch square illustration. Animation optional. Fee $500. 500 buckaroos. Here are the 3 ideas. We have this fella with glasses. He's actually a carrot. We have this woman looking out like a telescope, using a carrot instead of a telescope, and that shape kind of lent itself to that. And finally, we have this very simple idea of just a illustration of a close-up of a person's face where the eye has the orange iris, which of course represents the carrot. This is more symbolic than anything else. Not going too literal with that one. And these are the 3 ideas. Now, the first one we wound up painting in the second and third part of the series, and then we moved on to working on this third one, which I'm now working on right here. The second one, pardon me. This is the one I'm working on right now. Wanted to try a different approach for each of these stylistically. Now, with the first one being totally painterly, and I'll happily show you what that turned out to look like. You can see how that one turned out. Here it is. We painted this one with the brushes from the gouache brush set, available to all of you who have your Photoshop or Fresco subscription. These are part of the brushes that you can grab. And remember, to grab the brushes, you go to your brushes panel, top right corner, get more brushes. Now, if you're in Fresco, you would open up your brush settings panel, go to the bottom, your brush list where you see all the brushes, and there's an option to add more brushes, and just tap on that. You can grab brushes from that same library. Okay, so today we are going to take care of wrapping up this illustration and move on to beginning the third one. Now, right at the end of the last episode, what I did was I started showing you how I intended to use texture to spice up some shapes in this illustration. Now, this is not purely a shape-based illustration. We have line work, but inside the lines, I'm going to keep things textural, interesting, and I'm going to keep the color palette very limited and work with blues and greens that are muted in order to make the carrot pop. That's going to be the only orange element, and everything else is going to kind of sit back color-wise, so I'm not going to go nuts with the color, but I am going to add interest with some texture. And to do that, we're going to use brushes. And so I'm going to open up my brushes panel here in a minute, start playing around with making selections with a lasso tool, painting inside those selections with these brushes that have a lot of texture to them, and just see how it all evolves. I personally can't even envision the final art in my head the way it's going to look just yet. I have to sort of put things down, react to them as I go, but I do have this general plan of making selections, painting inside those selections with brushes that have texture, using this limited color palette, and seeing how that all goes. Now, right off the bat, I will say that the line art's on its own layer, of course, and good reason for that, because I'm actually planning on taking that line art and changing the color of the line art, either in the middle of this process, towards the end. Maybe I'll just do it right off the bat and see how it feels. I worked in black just to get things worked out. But the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be locking layer transparency. And if you've never done this before, very handy thing you can do in Photoshop. You simply come over here to the lock, section of your layers panel. You have several options here. If you lock this very first one, that's your layer transparency. What that means now is I can paint inside of the pixels that are already filled with data. In this case, they're filled with color, they're filled with black. I can paint inside of those freely and not worry about messing anything up. So that means you could quickly change the color. So for example, I have this foreground color right now. This is blue. I'm going to go more towards the blue-green, pop over this way. And if I just hit Option Delete, see what happens? It just changes the line art color. Option Delete means fill with foreground color. If you're on a PC, that would be Control Delete. Pardon me, Alt Delete, my mistake. And then if I have these other lines that I've got, you see here I've got these lines that made up our carrot and our birds. I'm going to combine those. Okay, so select them both and then Command E. It's going to just join those up. Okay. And I'll go ahead and lock that layer transparency and throw that color in there as well. So now we have this consistent blue to work with. And that already gives me an idea. It's like, okay, so if I want that to be this predominant color that's working on the lines, and I want everything else to kind of play off of that. Probably want to go a little darker for contrast, so let's just darken that up a hair and come over here and Option Delete, fill that in. Okay, and now I think I'm pretty much ready to go and continue with the shapes and the brushes and the patterns inside. And my goal is to get this one pretty much wrapped up before the hour is up so we can start playing around with that third illustration, which is the eye close-up part of the face. I really want that one to be a very graphic kind of approach. So we moved from painterly to line art with some texture and interest to purely shape-based illustration, just trying 3 separate approaches and 3 separate ideas for this same assignment to show you the range of possibilities you have when you work in editorial art. One of the greatest things about it, like I said in the first class, is that editorial art welcomes all styles, and it's just a great place to play around. It's a great space to be an illustrator and really mess around with some different approaches. Okay, so before I move on, just say hi to some folks in the chat really quickly. Thanks for joining me. I see Pollyanna, and she's one of my favorite humans on planet Earth. So Pollyanna, thank you very much for being here for as long as you're here. I don't know. Hi. I see Kara. Hey, Kara, how's it going? And Afroha, and I see Cody, of course, and Steven and Della. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me, gang. And other folks are tuning in. Marcia, if you are coming over from YouTube, remember, I'm not looking at the chat on YouTube. My apologies. I'm following the chat at behance.net. So go to behance.net. Make sure you have a free Behance account. Doesn't cost you anything except about 2 minutes of your time. Sign up and you can go to the live session here, join the chat, and I can answer your questions as we go, okay? And I'll be periodically checking the chat so I can make sure that I am answering your questions. All right, without further ado, let us proceed. So, got my handy dandy lasso tool ready to go, and I'm going to come in here. Now you see I've got my cloud textures here on their own layer, okay, as well as those cloud shapes. Now behind that, I'm just going to start playing with a background. So I'm going to grab a lighter color, as light as I can go, really, really faint up here. Push that a bit more towards green. So this is a very, very faint light blue color. And I'm going to play with some brushes, and you know I love brushes. So let's see what we got here. Now, actually, I think I might work with some newer stuff because I've been updating these sets, as you know. Let's check out what we have in summer of 2018. We have this lovely Inkblock overlay brush. This is one of my favorites. And what I like about this brush is, as you can see, as I paint with it, okay, it just leaves these little bits of the canvas exposed, right? Varying my pressure as I go, right? Just kind of scribbling around in different directions just to make things interesting, okay? And I'm just going to block in the entire background. We're not going to just paint the sky because I kind of want this to be like a base texture / color coming through. Now I worked with gray as the background when I was drawing, just so I wasn't working with a bright white canvas because I never like to do that. It hurts my eyes for one thing, but yeah, it's just really not my thing. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead now, and you might find this strange, but I'm actually going to take the background and I'm going to make it orange. I'm going to work with an orange sort of a background color because I want that to kind of come through. See what that does? Automatically, it makes me have to change my game. Okay, but we're going to have some contrast coming from that blue and that orange. It's going to be really lovely. So I'm going to come back to that blue color, and I'm going to start painting over same brush. See this? I'm just going to keep on messing with this sky. like this. And this just adds a whole bunch of lovely textural interest to whatever's happening back there. And I don't have to do very much work to achieve this. That's what's wonderful, is I just have to paint. Scrub around, back and forth. Okay? This is so fun. And you know, you could always make your brush a little bigger, bump it up to 400 pixels. What a beast. Remember, if you're working in Fresco, go ahead and size it up to like 800 pixels because you will not experience any lag. It's one of the amazing things about how Fresco takes advantage of that GPU on the old iPad. Remember, Fresco does work, of course, on some PCs as well, a Windows environment. And I can't speak for the lag situation there because I do not work in that environment. But I will say it is available to Windows users out there. So, you know, what are you waiting for? Download it. All right, now I'm going to go back to a lighter color. Okay, so we went from light to light. Okay, I'm just going to do one more pass over here.
I didn't find that on Apple Music.
Okay, Siri. What did I say? She's telling me she couldn't find that on Apple Music. You mean there's no Apple Music song about my Photoshop brushes? I'm so insulted. You know, if you're clever, you can maybe find an archived video of my original design gangsta video, which has been removed from YouTube, sorry to say. Or maybe if you're really good at hunting, you can find an MP3 of my Illustrator song. Don't go hunting too hard though. All right, look at all that lovely texture. Isn't that fun? All right, now it makes me say, okay, look at these clouds. What's that gray going on with those clouds? See that gray? Okay, which of these do we have? We have this. Yeah, okay. So I think that color is not going to work for me. I'm now going to lock transparency on that layer. And we're going to sample from here. We're going to go lighter. We're going to go a little bluer. And we're just going to paint in a bluer, sort of lighter color there. Like that. Now I haven't lost all that texture that I added earlier, but I can pop back over onto that texture, lock that layer transparency, go a little darker with my blue, and just start painting in some of those textural elements same way. Like that. Okay. So now we're starting to get somewhere. And what you're going to have is that little bit of that orange coming through. It's like an underpainting. You know, those of you who do painting know what I'm talking about. A lot of people, you know, you just start with an underpainting and you let that sort of just come through here and there. Just let it peek through. And it's nice. It adds a little bit of color harmony throughout your image. Okay. I'm going to grab a color right from there. I'm going to push that a little bluer and go a little darker. I'm going to change it up now. Use a different brush. So let's see what else we have in this particular set. We do have the ocean brush. It's kind of a nice one. And I believe this takes advantage of color dynamics. So let's check out the brush settings here. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, we're fine. Let's just start painting in here. Whoops, let's put another layer. There we go. Very subtle. This is kind of like a watercolory sort of a brush. But you can see the brush strokes here and there as I paint with it. All right, see that? And while I have that selected, I'm going to go ahead, switch it up again. And let's check out the scratch glaze. That one sounds promising. Go a little darker, and a little bluer. Yep, I like that. Just a bit of action there with those textures. I'll zoom in on that so you can see what's happening. See that loveliness? And what we're going to do is we're just going to keep playing with these textural elements as I make these selections, okay? Now looking at it with like contrast wise, I sort of right off the bat feel like maybe the clouds need to come down a little bit. Easy to fix. I can take those clouds, knock back the opacity on that layer, you know, maybe just fiddle with that a bit more until, oh yeah, I like that. I like that orange coming through just a bit more, and I like the clouds being a bit more part of that skyscape, less so much sitting on top of it. So I'll leave it there for now, and already things are coming together. I'm gonna now select that boat. So we'll do this. I'm carefully using my lasso tool. You know, you could do it in sections. I've seen people do that. I'm just trying to kind of get it in one pass, more or less. And I'll make some edits here in a moment. So to add to your selection, hold down the Shift key. Holding down the Shift key, adding, right? And then to subtract, hold down Option or Alt on a PC. So there's that boat shape. I could stick it on the same layer as the sail. I don't think there's any harm in doing that. I do like this brush that I'm currently using. Might go a little darker. So we'll just go down here. See what happens when I work with that and then come back over. Oh yeah, that's fun. In fact, you know what? Let me redo that and actually follow. Yeah, see, I'm gonna follow the direction of the boat there, like the shape of the boat. Follow the edges of that shape, and it almost adds like this idea of there being planks, you know, on the side. And again, that is the Scratch Glaze brush, which is part of the Summer 2018 brush shape update, which you can go and snag if you wish to. All right, any questions? Let's see. Hey. That brush texture is incredible, says Farah. Awesome, thank you. I'm very happy with that brush myself. Teal and orange, powerful combo. That's right, Mote Avoid, because we're looking at contrasting colors across the old color wheel there, right? Compliments. Siri's always on the job, says Cody. Yeah, sort of. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so we're just gonna keep on trucking. Here we go. Anybody out there, by the way, watching from Texas? If you are, my thoughts are with you. Scared for what's going on out there. People need help. People need help out there. Hope that help is on the way soon. I don't like this situation. So, thinking about you all. All right, I'm gonna go under the boat now. And I'm just gonna make a little selection here. There we go. Come back around this way. And up and over. Ready? And then come down this way and over. Slide on over and finish that out. Okay, now water again. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. And now I'm gonna paint with a different brush. Just gonna keep playing around, see what we have here. You know, I might go in sort of with something more impressionistic for this part. And our impressionist brush is right here. How convenient. Kind of liking the Monet for this situation. Let's see what happens if I use that. Let's just kind of come through. Oh yeah. Now that, of course, is taking advantage of our color dynamics. Okay. In fact, you know what I might do is I might grab that orange again, just kind of throw it in there a bit, so it's going to come through again. You know, I love just having it peek through, say hello. Okay. Nice. That's the ticket. Just a bit of it here and there. We don't want to lose it entirely. We don't want to lose it. Okay. And that line work is doing the job of sort of separating out these elements. But as I squint and look at it, if I think I need more contrast, you know, I can always go lighter with an element or darker with an element. So for example, the boat, you know, I like what's going on with these patterns like this, but let me just jump back to that brush. I want to try something. We're going to go to the summer 2018 and head back over to that. I think it was it the crunch brush? I forgot now. Help. No, it was the scratch glaze. There it is. This is the problem. When you make 1,800 brushes, you kind of start to forget what you've done. Just a few little bits there. I want to kind of lighten things up. Let's go back. Make sure we lock our transparency so that we don't. There. Just want to have a few little lighter bits in there to separate that out. Maybe even on the sail, like just pop a few bits in there like that. It's kind of nice. I like. Okay. And for the water, you know what I might do? Since we're using lock transparency for the line art, could try something like this. Check it out. We're going to do this. We're going to select here and here. And we are going to take the line art there and we're going to make it white or maybe light blue. Let's just see how that looks. It's kind of cool. Could go a little lighter. So let's come over here like that. So there's something you could do to add some more interest, right? Just to separate that element out. Why not? Why not do that? Gonna lock transparency on the water, come back, grab some of these darker colors here, and just draw some bits and pieces coming through like that. I like that. Alrighty, so now we get to our hero character, okay? And I think the way to go with her might be darken things up a bit, maybe a bit more contrast. She's already got the punch with the full filled in areas here, this solid black, so to speak. It's not black, but you get the idea. Solid fill, which adds some contrast. So we could go like really, really faint, really light, I mean, and just keep her popping off the page. And I could go back to the background later, darken up some elements and whatnot. So let's see if I take this color that we're using right now, brighten it. Okay, so we're gonna brighten it a bit and just see how that plays. This is all part of the process, is you just have to try stuff and then see what you like. Now, of course, if you're working with traditional media, what you do, this is what color studies are for, right? And studies with values, you know, you do your sketch, then you do your darks and your lights and try and figure out how's that all gonna work. And that's one of the things that's wonderful about digital art is you can just kind of skip over a lot of that stuff and play with it as you're going, which is not to say that you shouldn't do it at all, because I think it's very important to do these things, get used to that process before moving to a digital environment. I just think, you know, it's just important to understand how that works. But at the same time, I will say, once you kind of get the idea, to be able to jump in with digital and just have fun is really cool. You can skip around, I will say. So we have our chunky monkey brush, which looks like it just fills in solid color. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump in here and I'm going to employ color dynamics. So bump up that hue jitter and brightness jitter a little bit. See what that does? That just starts to really add a bit of interest in there. Size it down a little bit. And now we're getting some weird stuff going on in there. And I like that, that's cool. All right. And we're gonna go solid white for just a moment. Just gently pass over that like that. Now let's see how that plays. Zoom out, folks. Zooming out lets me look at it tiny, like a little stamp, right? And then I can say, okay, am I seeing things? Are things reading clearly? I noticed that like the boat and the water are the same value, which I don't want. So I have to choose which is gonna get lighter. My guess is the water's gotta come up. So I'm going to make that lighter. To do so, I'll try the Atlas Brush CD. Now this one takes advantage of color dynamics as well. What it does is it uses the foreground and the background color at the same time. And what I mean is with more pressure, with greater pressure, I use more of the foreground color. With less pressure, I use more of the background color. So you'll see what I mean here. So less pressure, more foreground, more pressure, more background. Here, let me just pull up those color dynamics. You'll see pen pressure is assigned to foreground and background jitter. So that's a pretty interesting thing you can do. And I think, of course you don't want to lighten it up too much because then you're going to get stuck with those white lines getting lost. Okay. Probably some of you are picking up the sound as well of my Wacom stylus like stabbing against the surface of the Cintiq. And these things can really take a beating, but let me just tell you something quickly. If you haven't seen these before, I'm going to zoom in for you to take a close look at this, see if you can see that pen tip. It's all beat up. It's all beat up and crazy. I use the felt nibs. Now, if you've never used those before, highly recommend you purchase some. They're very inexpensive, and you can buy them in packs of like 4 or 6, whatever it is. And I love them because they're scratchy on the surface. They give you a much more natural feel when you draw with them. They work on any Wacom style tablet. And just, if you have not tried them, can't recommend them more highly. I just love them. I've been using them for about 8 years now, and I never looked back. The moment I started using them, I said, that's the one for me. Love it. All right, so now as I zoom out, okay, the boat is sort of its own thing. The water is its own thing. Now the water and the sky are kind of the same value. So, I gotta probably push the sky a little darker. So I can do that. And I could do that with, let's try just the old Atlas brush here. Just come in there. Just along the bottom here is where I want to do it, because I want there to be some contrast right there, like on the horizon line. Kind of like what's going on with these brush strokes. I might keep that going, come back through, and let that just sort of pass over some areas there. So now I've separated that horizon line a little bit. Then I can just gently keep that going like that. Come back to that brush I was using from the December 2018, which is that Inkblock overlay. If I want to just pop some of those little bits and pieces back into place, no worries, I can do that as well. Okay. just a bit more contrast. That's what I want. All right, coming back to our character here. Keeping things simple. The entire shape of her head, hair included, can just be the same color as the pants, you know? No reason to just change that formula. It works. So let's go back to that layer. So I can just come in, get that filled in, and then grab something with a little bit more texture to it, like our friend, that scratch glaze brush. And just add some elements of texture there. Zoom out. That looks pretty clear. And then come back to our character again. We're just gonna go here and grab these shapes here. Bit more pop right here in the face, so I'm going to just add that here and there. There we go. Okay. Yep. That works for me. So right now, let's see, that boat needs a hit of orange in it. So I'm just gonna smack a little bit of that in there. I would say the same for the water. Okay, come back to that sky and just throw that in, make it subtle. There we go. Okay, now we are on to the carrot. So that layer is going to go above everything else, except for our character here, because she's got that hand in front of the carrot. Switch over to my polygonal lasso tool, make sure there's no feather on it. Pause for a moment, see if you have any questions. Let's see what we got here. Sail looks amazing. Cool, thanks. Corey's in Dallas. Oh, wow. All right, Kara as well. So I hope you guys are okay. Icicles on the ceiling fans. Holy smokes. How do you know which brush uses which dynamics? So Jorturma, you just go to the brush settings and check on color dynamics to see if it's turned on, and then you can see which color dynamics are turned on. Yeah, Ruth, try the felt ones are so awesome. And also, don't worry about scratching up your tablet. It should still work totally fine. There shouldn't be too much of an issue. Let's see what else. Hassan, how do I become like you? I don't know if you're directing that question to me or somebody else. And I hope you're talking about art, because you don't want to be like me. You want to be like you. But with regards to drawing, I just went to school for that, but also I did it my whole life from, you know, when I was teeny tiny. Spent more time doing that than any other specific activity. all throughout my youth and, into my adulthood, and with the goal of getting better. So I think that's the key, is if you want to get better at something, then that's what's motivating you. It's this curiosity, wanting to learn something and improve at it, not just to it's one thing to sort of look at this thing that you want to do and say, yeah, I'd like to do that someday. It's another thing to actually put in the time to, in an academic way, try and get better at it. So that's the key, I think, is find teachers online, which is the beautiful thing about being alive today. Is unlike when I was in college, high school, whatever, we just didn't have these resources like YouTube, where you do have some phenomenal teachers out there telling you good things, giving you good advice, talking about fundamentals, talking about all the great things that normally, you have to go to like a 4-year school to learn, and you'd have to spend a lot of money. And not that there's anything wrong with that. You can get a great education in college. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, you don't even have to wait anymore. You could go right now to YouTube, find some insanely great teachers and some insanely great advice, and just start going for it. It's pretty amazing that this even exists. Like, I really wish that such a thing had existed when I was younger. Nevertheless, the key though is putting in the time to actually do the stuff. So if you're watching somebody give you a bunch of advice on YouTube about how to draw X or how to draw Z, and they're just saying, do this, do that, well, that's great, but if you're not actually practicing on a daily basis, there's no point. You could watch a million videos about drawing. You will not get any better unless you sit down and draw. That is the key, my friends. You just have to sit down and draw. And if you don't, unfortunately, nothing's going to change. So the good news is you will see progress when you do that. So, at first it might be slow, but, if you wait, look back 6 months into your adventure in learning how to draw, with daily practice, look back and say, whoa, look at all the progress I've made. And then look back a year and say, whoa, look at all the progress I've made. Check out Modern Day James on YouTube. You want to see somebody who's just so dedicated to learning and applying the knowledge that is learned. You can watch his progress as he just becomes a really phenomenal draftsperson, and then gives instruction himself with his own videos. But there's an example of somebody who just really learned the stuff. He learned how to do it. So, gang, as I look at this, the more I look at it, I think, okay, what's missing? We need to pop up here some contrast, right? And I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna make a selection like that, and I'm gonna throw that in there just like that. And I'm gonna go a little darker than what we have up there. Let's just move a bit towards blue. This is not going to be like a major change, but it's just going to be something to darken things up. And I think I'll use the Washi Warren brush, named after my dad, who lives not too far away from where I live. Whoops, wrong layer. Come back to that sky. Actually, I'm going to set the mode of the brush to multiply. See this? Brush mode? Bam, multiply. So I retain all the action that's going on underneath, and I'm just kind of like staining over it. You know what I mean? Just kind of like staining over it. Bam. All right, that's nice. I like that. I might do more of that kind of thing. So I'll just come out this way. Hit it again. Just hit it again with another shape. And I might do that down here. Like that. Let's see what happens if I just kind of do a bit more of that down there. Again, I'm just trying to add some contrast, keep things from getting too samey. And let's do that behind our heroine here. Let me get the different shape. Let's do this. Let's come up this way. And what I'm going to do is just paint part of it, or I'm actually going to wind up going in there and softening some of that edge, but I just want to throw in some more contrast right behind her so that she is popping off that background. And then I'll grab another brush that's a little softer. So what do we got? Actually, or I could do like a splish splash kind of a thing and set my brush mode to clear. That means I'm erasing with that brush now. See that? Just kind of knock some of that out so that transitions into the rest of the sky without there being such a sharp edge. Okay, and I think that helps for her to pop. I think then we could take the edge of the sail here, this side of the sail. Okay, remember we locked transparency on that. And I could lighten that up as well, so I'm just gonna lighten it a little bit. So that helps it to pop forward just a hair. That orange is too intense right there, so just mask over a bit of that. And that's looking pretty decent, so let's go over to our carrot again. And let's just make a selection around these leafy bits here. Hey, back to drawing advice though, quickly if I could. Just say one more thing about that. The key is not to jump ahead. So there's a thing called fundamentals with drawing. And what I'm talking about there is, well, hang on a minute, what's going on? Why can't I see this? Yeah, here we go. Because I had my brush mode on clear. Come on, Kyle. Think, McFly, think. Anyway, fundamentals. So I'm talking like line, shape, composition, value. Don't even worry about color for a long time. Just try and establish a good knowledge of, get yourself started with understanding shape, contour drawing, just drawing the shape of things, proportion, understanding things in three-dimensional space, you know, the volume of things, how to represent that, just drawing cubes, drawing pyramids, drawing simple primitives, right? Assembling those into things that are a little bit more complex, and get confident with the pencil doing that kind of stuff, and you'll be in good shape. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. My drawing professor always said that in school, and I thought it was such a great expression. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's an old one. I'd heard it before, but the way he used it, I just thought it was great. Splish Splash 2. I'm going to use this brush here, and just going to throw down a splishy splash and see how that looks. Do I like it? Nope. How about here? Nope. How about there? Nope. How about there? Yeah, I kind of like that. What if it were white-ish? Kind of works. I'm just having fun right now with like throwing this on top of the line art. Let me try that again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another splishy splash brush. Now this one is in the Summer 2020 brush, and it's called Spladoosh. There it is, Spladoosh. All right, Spladoosh. 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 There we go. It's kind of spladooshy. I like it. It's got a spladoosh kind of look to it. That's why I named it that. Let's take that and lock transparency. Okay. And just, whoops, too dark. Let's come in here, go a little bit more blue. I'm just gonna like change the color slightly here and there inside of it. Doing a lot of lock layer transparency in this drawing, in case you hadn't noticed. A lot of that going on. See that? I don't know. Maybe we leave that. Maybe we don't. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe we stretch it, throw it out that way. I can't decide. Whatever, it doesn't hurt anything. Maybe we get rid of this part. It was too distracting. Or maybe what we do is we just go nuts and we like throw a couple of those in the background. You know? Who's gonna stop us? Maybe we just do that. Just kind of like throw them all in the background. Who cares? And we take that and we just say overlay. Boop. And we change the color to, we use the orange. I don't know. It's the kind of stuff I do all day just to play. You know, or maybe we say soft light. I don't know. You could just play with it all day. You come over like this and you can grab now a more bluish kind of color, knock it in, say, let's say, I like overlay, that's cool. And then we select our carrot by holding down the command key and tapping on that layer, right? We just knock that out. See that? That makes it pop. And we put that here so it's not overlapping our line art. We take our line art and we grab a nice blue from that color and we fill it all in like that. Do the same for our, for our carrot. So you say, how does that feel? How's that look? Kind of like that. Yeah, that might work for me. And we go ahead and take that line art again from the water, and we just make it white again or something like that. We go lighter, right? Like that. That kind of works. You could even do something like this, like say, oh yeah, the little things that hold the sail are going to be white. I don't know. I don't know. See, now I'm just playing. That could be cool. That could work. I don't know. All right, making the orange, you know, lose its power, obviously. So I could do things like, let's grab our gradient tool, okay? And I could use a gradient that goes from foreground color to transparent, and radial gradient right up here. And I could just go like, let's do this a little darker. I could just go, bam, up in that direction. Okay, and you notice I've got dissolve for the mode of the gradient. See that? Dissolve. It's all gritty. Okay, so I got a greener tone up there, and I come up here to more bluish. Okay, and I come down from this angle here, and I go the other way. Woo, like that, and they meet in the middle. Okay, and then we take that and we say, hey, let's take that layer and let's turn something on there with layer modes. Like lighter color is cool, but I want to see overlay again, or let's try overlay again. Let's see how that looks. Look at that. That's all that cool texture there. And it changes the tint just slightly towards the bottom. And then as we move up towards the top, it's a little more pronounced. You know, if you really want to go nuts, you can do stuff like making it do the hue, right? So we have this nice gradation happening, and then you go back again and select your carrot right here, and you just knock that out. Bam. Super bright, super powerful. Okay? Lots to do with this, lots of fun to be had. We do lose the sail when we do that. The sail winds up like not being dark enough, but that's so easy to fix. Just here, actually, I've already got that locked with this layer transparency. Just go ahead, select that part of the sail, go to your hue and not curves, Kyle. Hue and saturation sliders, Command U, right? Start playing with that so you get a different color. Maybe you want to bump up the saturation, bump it down, bump up the brightness, whatever you got to do to make it pop, right? Make it a little more purpley. Bump up the brightness. Now you can see it again, right? Keep playing. You get the idea. If anything, I should just take that and just knock it down like that. Look at that. Did that with curves. Let me turn this off. You'll see the contrast there. 1, 2, on, off. Right? There's so much you could do. But the general gist of it is, is there. We get it. I could send this to an art director and say done, and they'd probably be like, yeah, that's fine. And wouldn't be anything else to do. So jumping back to the carrot just for a moment, check this out. Just want you to think about this. Remember these leaves right here? Well, I'm liking what's happening with the green of the ocean down here, so I'm actually going to just take those, go to hue saturation sliders. Where are we here? Where did I color those? There they are. And go to my hue saturation slider and just push those more towards green like that. Bam. See that? A little more towards that greenish kind of color. That brings my eye from below where the water is up to there, right? Command M, bring up my curves, darken those bad boys up just a hair, a little more contrast. All right, and there you have it. So, hey, lots and lots of cool stuff you can do. It's amazing to do illustration in Photoshop, isn't it? Sky's the limit. So, any questions about those last little bits before I have to sign off for today? We'll move on in part 5 to the last illustration. I was hoping to get there today, but we had so much fun playing around with this one and getting it to this stage that I'm glad we did. Learned a lot of cool tricks, I hope. Let's see. Steven, you're always drawing in meetings. Me too. Got to manage your time to practice consistently. Yeah, it's just part of the deal. It's just you have to do it. Thank you, Afroha. Very kind of you. Thank you, Kara. Thank you. Yeah, combining brushes for texture is such a great way to do it. And there are so many brushes to play with. Try different brush modes, multiply, overlay, things like that. And, there's really no limit to the ways you can use all these tools. The only limit is your imagination. I mean, I know it's a very cliche kind of thing to say, but honestly, when you have this kind of environment to draw in, it's just throwing stuff on there, see what sticks, try different layer blending modes, try different brush modes, try different brushes, use different color combinations and so on, and see what you can get away with. And the great thing is you can always say Command Z. So if only we could do that with everything in life. Alas, we cannot. So this is where we're gonna wrap it up now. Just to review, we've now done the first illustration here, which is our carrot friend. That's done. We've done this guy, and now we're gonna move on to this one. So in the last part of this illustration series, I will go ahead and we'll work on that one. But I'm pretty happy with how we got today, how far we got along, and learned some neato stuff. Go back and watch these anytime you like. They're all archived. So until then, everybody, it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Remember to be kind, as I always say. And ciao for now.